Hello, students. Welcome to the English class. We have started with a new chapter from Vista's Should Wizard Hit Mommy? In my last PPT video, we have discussed about the themes and we have made a critical analysis of the story. Today, in this PPT video, we are going to discuss the characters of the story. We are going to analyze the characters of the story. So let's start, students. In this PPT video, we will see the character sketches of Jack, the main protagonist, Roger Skunk. We will see about Roger's mother, the wizard, Joe or Joan, Claire, the mother of Joe and the wife of Jack. And at last, we are going to see the affinity between Jack and Roger. Jack is the main protagonist of the story. He is the father. He has his own tendencies. He has his own way of understanding the life. He is the father of Joe and the husband of Claire. He is a loving and concerned father and husband who tells stories every day to his daughter Joe. He is also concerned about his wife Claire, who is already who is going to conceive for the third time, and he believes in the patriarchal society. Jack is the protagonist of the story Should Wizard It Mommy, which examines the issue of parenting, the adult tendency to quell the questioning mind of a child, and the belief that the viewpoint of the adult represents the only valid one. So, what we find is that Jack believes in a one sided worldview of the a one sided viewpoint. He believes that adults are the experienced one and they know better what to do for the children. Children are not matured enough or experienced enough to understand the world or to understand the life at its best. So, Jack, in the entire story of Roger Skunk and his storytelling process, he tries to impress upon his daughter that parents knows better what to do for the children. As we can see as written over here, Jack is conscious of his duties as a father and husband. He has been telling stories to his daughter Jo since she was 2 years old, before her Saturday and evening naps. But now, 2.5 years later, he is fatigued and confused by her constant questioning, pointing errors, Roger Fish instead of Skunk, asking for clarifications and suggesting alternatives. He has the typical parental attitude and opinion that parents know what is best for their children and stifles her objections and amendments, shown by his defending the skunk's mother. Of course, indirectly, he is defending his own mother also. Jack feels caught in an ugly middle position physically, emotionally, and mentally. He did not like women to take anything for granted to the extent that he extends the story, changing the ending, giving it the face that he wants to. About ugly middle position, we are of course going to discuss it in detail in my explanation, line by line explanation. This, despite the fact that he knows that he should be helping his pregnant wife paint the woodwork. Jack is someone who is not used to his authority being questioned and so is confused by Joe's questioning. Though a loving parent, he finds it hard to accept the fact that Joe now has a mind of her own. His insensitivity and impatience comes across in his dealings with his daughter, and the fact that an adult's viewpoint is biased by personal experiences. Next, we have Roger Skunk. He gets the wizard to give him a pleasant smell, but his mommy gets the change reversed. Regarding Skunk, Skunk is a very smelly animal, right? The protagonist of the story that Jack tells Joe is about Roger Skunk. Roger Skunk is a small baby skunk, okay? He is very smelly and he wants to change his smell because he wants to be accepted in the society, accepted by his friends. So, as instructed by the wise old owl, he visits the wizard and changes himself into the smell of a rose. But his mother doesn't like it, and so again his smell is being changed back as a skunk. At the end of the PPT slides, the last slide, we are going to see about the affinity between Roger Skunk and Jack. Somewhere in the entire narrative, we have seen that Jack somewhere gives an autobiographical details when he discusses about Roger Skunk. Roger Skunk's mother or mommy. She is Roger Skunk's mother who insists on having her way with Roger by forcing him to follow tradition. Well, she is the one who believes in the same tradition way as Jack wants to portray, that mother knows best or parents knows best what their children should do or how their children ought to be. Roger Skunk's mommy doesn't like the smell of her son, so she insists on going to the wizard, hit the wizard on his head, and takes away the smell, the original smell of Roger Skunk, and gives it to Roger Skunk, to Roger, okay, taking away the smell of the rose. So Roger Skunk's mother somewhat follows Jack's typical stereotypical parental attitude, the traditional parental attitude that needs to be followed in a family. Next, we have the wizard. The wizard is the character in Jack's stories who usually presents the solution to whatever problem Roger is facing. He does this by performing a magic spell that reverses Roger's predicament, making Roger very happy. Wizard is a magic. Okay, this is a magic like when we are not accepted, when Roger is not accepted in the society, he performs a magic upon himself through the help of the wizard and changes his skunky smell into a rosy smell. Wizard is a medium, okay, to change the world as you wish to be. And of course, Joe likes the wizard because in the perspective of a child, Roger's rosy smell or the wizard's action is very much acceptable to Joe, because through these what happens, Joe will find her own acceptance in the society. For a small child, acceptance in the society, friendly attitude, friends behavior, that is more important. But Wizard's action is not accepted or is not likable by Roger's mommy. Even so with Jack also. Therefore, Roger's mommy think that of course the wizard should be hit back and Roger's original smell should be given to Roger. Right? As it is being said, in this way, the wizard represents a sense of freedom from obligation, as he enables Roger to do the things he wants to do without regard for the consequence of his family's feelings. As it is being mentioned over here, when you will read this particular character sketch, we find that wizard represents the sense of freedom. Of course, that is what Joe also wants, freedom. Freedom from the traditional clutches or the traditional shackles of parental authoritarian attitude. They want freedom. They want their own way of life. Too young to have her own sense of personal duty, Jo is unable to understand how the wizard could be wrong. But Jack, who sees himself as having compromised many of his goals and much of his freedom out of a sense of duty, knows that the wizard cannot win. So that is what an adult or an experienced person's viewpoint would be, that magic cannot survive. It is our real identity, it is our struggle that only can help us to survive in this world. Jo or Joan, she is Jack's 4-year-old intelligent, impatient, and inquisitive daughter. She is growing up. When she was 2 years old, Jack had started telling her the stories of Roger, of any kind of creature. It can be a fish, it can be a turtle, it can be a rabbit, it can be a lion, and in this case, it is a skunk. Right? Now she is 4 years old, and the tradition continues. The tradition of storytelling continues. Every day, Jack has to tell the story to Joe, and Joe, by listening to the story, goes off to sleep. But now, when Joe is 4 years old, Joe has grown up. Her curiosity level, her rationalism, her intelligence is also growing up. And that can be displayed, or that is being projected, when she is continuously interfering her father's story and asking various kind of question, thus quenching her own curiosities. As it is said here, indeed, Jo is intent on exercising her opinion and having her ideas heard, as it is being said here, even at young age. With respect to the story of Roger Skunk, Jo does not agree with the ending that her father proposes. As a young child, Jo relates to Roger's desire to be accepted by his peers, and she does not understand why Roger's mother would force him to return to his original scent when it made the other little animals run away. So here we find that Jo is continuously expressing that sense of freedom is important. If through a magic or through by some miracle, if the society accepts you, okay, and become friend with you, then what is wrong in there? Through that childhood perspective, she is unable to understand that real identity or the struggle or various kind of sacrifices made in the life can only reveal one's true identity, or can only help in the survival in this cruel world. Claire, the wife of Jack and the mother of John and Bobby. She is again conceiving another child, the third one. She is a dominance. She is an unusual person. Jack and Claire's, of course, married life is not a happy one, because Jack finds that Claire is much too independent, much too dominant in his life. As it is being said here, Claire is 6 months pregnant and is repainting and rearranging the living room, a task that Jack should be helping with, but which he is delaying as long as possible. Jack and Claire's marriage is not a happy one, and although he does not express his feelings to her directly, Jack has grown increasingly resentful towards his wife, whom he feels continually contradicts and undermines him. Even when Claire is not physically present, Jack feels her derision and disdain reflected in their young daughter Jo, who is growing to look increasingly like Claire and does things that remind Jack of Claire's behavior. Ultimately, Jack is not only unwilling to help Claire move their furniture despite her pregnancy, but he is so angry at her that he refuses to even look at her or speak to her. He sees her as the symbol of his own unhappiness and unfulfilled desire. In a way, we can say that Claire is the symbolism of the modern day world, where women and men are equally working, equally struggling in the family, where women's presence and women's opinion is also very much important compared to a man's opinion or his position. Jack cannot accept this. His patriarchal thinking, or his way of thinking the family as only father dominated or husband dominated, is completely crushed by Claire and Joe's attitude. As we have seen, that Jack also says that he cannot tolerate women who takes men for granted. And he finds Claire moving the furniture and painting the furniture without the help of her husband. That is quite a kind of unhappiness, quite a kind of resentment that appears in Jack. Jack and Roger, they have a kind of affinity between them, because we find that whenever Jack had told the story of Roger the skunk, we have seen that some kind of autobiographical element has always come up, right? Jack had When Jack told about the smell of Roger, he told that he recollected his own childhood when he also faced the same embarrassment of having a very foul smell and not being accepted by his peers. When he defended Roger's mother, in a way he also defended his own mother, because he found that his way or his life was shaped by his mother. Right? So he knew that parental attitude is very much important. So somewhere he is also supporting Roger's mommy. In the entire narrative, we found that Roger and Jack, they are sharing a kind of relationship between themselves. Every time Jack created a story, he laced it with some autobiographical details. Roger's skunk situation was based on his own childhood. He remembered certain humiliations of his own. When Joe insisted that the wizard should hit Mommy back, it angered him. Jack felt he was telling her something true, something she must know. Thus, when Roger Skunk's mummy found the smell of roses awful, she took him back to the wizard. She hit the wizard right over the head with an umbrella and made him change his smell. Evidently, he had been taught by his own mother to embrace his individuality at the cost of popularity. He wished to pass on the moral to his daughter in the garb of a simple story. With rare emphasis, Jack defended the mommy as if he was defending his own mother. He refused to alter the end and insisted that the little skunk loved his mommy more than he loved all the other little animals, and she knew what was right for him. This was the character analysis in the story of Should Wizard Hit Mommy. I hope you have understood each and every character, because from the next class we will be starting with the video lectures on the line by line explanation of the story. Then if you have gone through this 2 PPT video carefully, the story will be of course very much clear to you. I hope you all have understood. If there is still any doubt, please clarify it from me. Thank you students. Study well.